Percent overall from the field, but he was also 50% from threes. He's 5 to 10.
I know you're out there. It's okay. Stand back there.
No, more than likely you're gonna get that number 1 seed, and so I want Houston to be ranked at number 1 and 8.
Welcome into another episode of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family, and then what is Let's Rage Coogs After Dark, and we're coming off the heels of an incredible overtime thriller in which the number 4 ranked Houston Cougars basketball team went into the Moody Center out west in Austin, Texas, and they came away with the 76-72 victory over the Texas Longhorns. Jamal Shead led the way in his homecoming to the Austin area with 25 points. He had 8 rebounds, had 4 assists, ended up falling out of the game. But what a great homecoming it was for him. What a great night it was for the Cougars. Joining me here today on Dunlap. First of all, how are you doing, sir? What'd you think about that win? What you think about that win?
Well. I'm doing well, man. Jay Shead, Jamal Shead, like you said, homecoming. He looked spectacular. He looked like the Big 12 Player of the Year. I mean, we got to start that campaign now. And just early, especially in that first half, picking and choosing his spots, getting inside to his spots and finishing, then hitting his mid-range. And only thing I didn't like was when he settles and lets the defense off the hook with his just pull-up jump shots. I love his catch and shoot threes, but I feel like he lets the defense off the hook when he does that, particularly, especially down the stretch, and we'll get to that shot. But Jamal Shead was spectacular, man. He looked like a man on a mission tonight, and he looked like he's taking that next step and going to make himself into the best guard in the country.
That next step, that's definitely the case. Watching the game, and we mentioned it obviously in previous shows, but it's so clear the night and day difference from just how well of an overall player he is this season compared to last season. He was a really good player last season. He's an even better player this year with the Houston Cougars, and has the ability to be able to take over the game when needed. And he did that down the stretch when Houston was down 6. It looked like he was teetering. It looked like maybe Texas was trying to run away and hide. And Jamal Shead hit those big threes. Emmanuel Sharp followed it up. We put Houston up by 3, and then it led to the slobber knocker that was the ending of this game. Dan, you absolutely mentioned settling that last shot at the end of regulation. It looked like Houston got the switch that they wanted. It was Jamal Shead against Max Asmus, and he settled for jumper, ended up being short, airball, and we went to overtime. That's one where if you could take back, maybe it's something where it seemed like Calvin Sampson wanted him to drive, but what you see on that last play at the end of regulation, in which Jamal Shead got for a 3-point shot.
Yeah, it was like an intentional play to get that switch and look for him to attack that matchup. And like I said, not just that particular shot, but even early on in that entire game, he made one pull-up 3, and it was a really nice 3, but all his other ones were his catch and shoot 3s. And like I said just a second ago, I feel like he let the defense off the hook. I feel like he let Max off the hook because he can drive him. He's shown either left or right, getting past Asmus, and he's shown that he's stronger and more athletic and can jump over him and finish over him and kind of create contact. So I think that's another play he wish he can have back. But overall, his overall game, like you said, last year was kind of when needed. This year is by necessity. It's needed. I mean, Emmanuel and LJ are really good shooters and streaky shooters, but still really good shooters. And you have to honor their 3-point shot so that it spreads the floor for him. And now I think a couple games ago, he realized this is the prime opportunity and prime season for him to show his full offensive repertoire and be able to show that not only can he lead a team and orchestrate a team from a natural point guard position, pass first and create, but he can also score. And I think he's really doing it at a good clip. But I love how once he gets inside the paint, I love how he's pick and choose his angles with his floaters, shooting it off the glass, and even getting to his left hand finishing versus just settling. And he's a really good mid-range shooter. And when his mid-range jumper is going, and then that just opens up his full game. But I think overall with this team, you can see when the game slows down, Coach Sampson is going to have the ball in his hands because LJ down the stretch, he gave the ball a lot in LJ's hands. He was able to make some plays off pick and roll. And so I like that sign as well. But Jamal's pretty much the one player who can get his ISO one-on-one and collapse the defense, or Damian, because I noticed when there's a point in time he put 4 guards in, because Damian is another player not only can he stretch the defense, but he can get his own shot as well.
I'm looking at the comments both on X and on Twitter. A lot. The fan base, the UH supporters, are very excited about this win, as they should be. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, a little bit a big comeuppance from the earlier meeting between these two programs, and what happened on the gridiron in the football field. Yes, you brought up that comment. I don't know, Corey Miller's comment. We can't emphasize it enough. JoJo Tugler made some big plays throughout the course,
man.
especially in that second half, where it was tips, big offensive rebounds, dunking, that big putback dunk that he had in overtime. Even one of those games today where he didn't look like a freshman, especially in that second half.
He didn't. Chris, what you see from JoJo? Go ahead. I mean, welcome into the show. JoJo was spectacular.
No question, but I want to say something.
Go ahead.
Xavier Francis hit 2 free throws to tie the game up with 2 minutes left. How many of us thought he was going to make those free throws?
I did. I ain't gonna lie. I'm hoping. So I'm positivity. I'm thinking, come on. Once he made that first one,
when he made him, I was like, who's gonna win? So when he made both, I was like, who's gonna win this game? So
no, for sure. Yeah,
JoJo was excellent. He came through, culture plays, the hustle plays, the tip outs, the putback dunk. It's just a lot of positive things. There were some, we can pick later on. That's what the coaches will do after the game. But the Longhorns played well. The Cougs, Jamal Shead. There were times Jamal Shead, he's just in a mindset. Let me say this. I forget who was a viewer to LRC. He asked us, it was a home game. I remember that. I remember sitting inside Petita Center. He asked us if we thought Jamal would be Big 12 Player of the Year. And we all said Hunter Dickinson. Well, I'm putting Jamal Shead in that running right now, because young fella is carrying this team, and he's just willing them to victories. And salute to him and the job he's doing. And Coach Sampson is trusting him to take shots, a lot of shots if necessary, to carry the team, keep the team afloat, whatever it takes to win the ball game. So salute to him. I was wrong on that. You heard Fran Pachilla talk about Jamal Shead possibly as an All-American, Big 12 Player of the Year, on and on. Outstanding. Great win for the Cougs.
Yeah, and I mentioned at the start of the show, Chris, that Jamal Shead looked like the Big 12 Player of the Year, and we got to start that campaign. I mean, he definitely looked like it. And I'm not going to say I was wrong, because we was projecting Hunter Dickinson in that running was a good projection on our part.
But he's still putting up numbers. But
right,
Jamal's winning.
The stars men now. Jamal is leading the way, in my opinion. He should be. But JoJo, man, his 4 points were spectacular. Not only when they went to him on the post, he actually made a post move and made a left-hand jump hook. That's huge, son. That's the first time this season that I can remember where he's caught it in the post, made a post move, and scored. And so that to me speaks volumes of where he's coming along, he's developing, and how he's recognizing the game and slowing down. And then the putback dunk, like Chris said, that's just using his length and athleticism. I think it was one more play where he got a block. It just seems like his length really teams don't really know or can't really gauge from film, because it seems like shots don't even seem like he can get to. He gets to it and blocks it or saves it. The one save that he got, man, JoJo is going to be a nice player, man. I really like what he's showing for sure. He had a great game for sure.
Yep, and I think he blocked Dylan DeSou's shot on the post, and it was like JoJo's arm just kept going, and Dylan's like, wait, he's still here? And there was a stuff. So, I mean, you made a great point. Opponents don't realize how long
his length,
JoJo's arms are. His length, his wingspan is something else, man.
Chris, I want to bring up this comment by Demerick. Would this game count as a quad one victory? It does, correct? On the road, Texas is 42 in the net.
I'm looking it up because I posted it on my Facebook earlier today and on Threads. But yeah, for sure. No doubt. The Longhorns were 41. You are correct, Andy, sir. Yep.
So, well, first and foremost, before we continue to talk, I'd like to welcome in each and every single one of you guys that is taking the time out of your day on this Monday night. It's Let's Rage Coogs After Dark, reacting to Houston's overtime thrilling victory. They are now, what's your record, Chris, when it comes to conference play? They are 6
6
and
and
2 when it comes
2.
to
Yes.
conference play in the Big 12, which is it was second coming into the matchup in the Big 12 conference. They were tied with Iowa State. So, I mean, Houston started. Now they're putting up these wins on the road, which, again, each road game this season.
Yep.
BYU, Iowa State, TCU, Texas, all come down to the wire. They're all nail biters. And I saw this comment on Twitter. I believe it was the SSN Cougs account where, regardless of the outcome, this is night and day difference improvement from the most of the conference games in the American Athletic Conference last season. They weren't road games, most definitely. We're not coming down to the wire at the clip, at the rate that they have been this season so far in the Big 12. But I do like to mention this is Left Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family. If this is the first time you have ever joined and watched a Let's Rage Coogs, we are the original Houston post-game show for each and every single men's basketball and football show. And of course, we are the only Let's Rage Coogs post-game show that has been retweeted by Kelvin Sampson. I'm going to create a little banner and click that every
Do that.
time.
Yes.
But of course, we also like to say thank you to Steve Saxenian for being a primary sponsor not only for today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, but each and every single men's basketball postgame show for the remainder of the regular season and heading into the postseason with final week of January. We're about to enter February, March right around the corner. And of course, we also like to say thank you to today's secondary sponsor, which is Star Pizza in multiple locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. Be sure to stop by any of the locations every Tuesday during lunchtime for an all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. Star Pizza, as always, has free delivery since 1976. And on the topic of Star Pizza, be on the socials for a big announcement that's coming soon that is relevant to Saturday, which obviously is the big game, the colossal game when it comes to two Big 12 heavyweights that are going to meet in Lawrence, Kansas this Saturday. But we'll talk about that later. This game, it really tested Houston's mental toughness, mental fortitude, and they passed with flying colors. I mentioned when they were down 6.
Shout
Go
out
ahead,
to the
man.
ref. Shout out to the refs for letting them play down the stretch. I really like the way the refs called the game. They let them play through physicality, through contact. It really looked like a March NBA type game. The way that they refed it down the stretch.
Yeah,
And then most
and
importantly, they were
agreed.
consistent too on both sides.
They were
On
consistent.
both
Yes.
sides. Yeah.
And I want to give to this comment. There's a question from Scott. Is our D assignment hurting Cryer and Dunn's O performance? No. LD got great looks. He just missed. I mean,
No.
yeah. And Damian Dunn prior to tonight was rolling last few games.
Yeah,
So
last 3 or 4 games he's been hot.
yeah. So don't let the recency bias, confuse you. No. Shots sometimes don't fall. Okay.
Yeah.
LD got great looks. He missed them. That's all it is. I would like him to do when he did to Max Asmus and Max did it to him. Once you get your defender on your hip, on your back, you got them at their mercy. Other got to the free throw line, made 2 free throws. He needs to do more of that instead of, off balance kind of things. And then Max did it right to him seconds later. This is just a great win, great environment. It's always good. Y'all know it, especially the older alums. I know how I feel about Texas. It's always good to beat Texas in anything. So this is a great win in Austin. Q1 win because it was a road win. That's a great culture win. It's a cliche, but it's true. So outstanding.
Especially that run when coming out, I think Texas went on like a 12-2 run to start the half, and they got all momentum. Coach Sam kind of tied them out, and Houston went on. I think it was a quick 9-0 run to get the lead back and to get the momentum back. I think that was probably one of the most pivotal moments. Jamal Shea, I believe, hit 2 threes in that stretch.
Shoot threes. Yep.
Yep, and that was a big key. But not only did it kind of take the crowd out of it, because they were really kind of about to take over the game with and help Texas continue that momentum, and then it just kind of settled things down, and Houston kind of controlled everything from there. That was a big moment.
And back at it, Scott. I understand what you're asking about tired legs. I'm,
You got it. You got it, Chris.
I'll do it. It's part of defense. We don't say this when LJ's missing shots. He's just missing shots right now. That's all it is. And keep in mind, he's been doing this in Big 12 before. Okay? He makes shots. He misses shots. Tonight was not his night, but he still made enough plays down the stretch to help the team win. That's what this is all about. This is team win. Everybody contributed in their own way down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that he's saying that, but if that would be true, it'd be the same case for Jamal. They both got the same workout, the same register, the same everything. And so, like Chris saying, it's just shots. The name of the game. It's a make or miss game, and he's just not making shots that he normally makes. But tonight, Coach Sam did a good job of giving him the ball and putting him in pick and roll. And like Chris said, at one time he is able to create contact and get to the free throw line. Need to do more of that because that's ways of scoring. And that's what I give Emmanuel his props throughout the season, because not only is he a streaky shooter and a good three-point shooter, he's been really good and still impacting the game offensively when his shot isn't making. He's doing a really good job of not only rebounds, but getting to the free throw line, creating contact, and get through the free throw line. That's part of being a scorer. And Emmanuel has really done that, especially last game. Franchella talked about his dad and his career overseas, being coached by his dad. That really, when I watch him on the court, that's why I was just realizing Emmanuel plays the game really smart, especially offensively. You rarely see him force shots whenever he's off the dribble. He really plays at his own pace when he's off the dribble. And so LJ just needs to make shots. Emmanuel, too, he hasn't been making his jumpers either. He's been streaky, but he's still been impacting the game offensively, like I just said.
Now, Scott, I would say, and I think Andy and Dan would agree, we like to see LJ get to the free throw line more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That 100%. Part of it, yes. And that has nothing to do with tired legs. Just get to the line more. Pump fake. Once he gets his defender on his hip, he has him at his mercy. Get that foul contact, go to the line, make those 2 free throws. He can do that part.
I want to bring up this comment by Mocha77 on YouTube. It says, do you think that the team will be gassed for Saturday with this game going on overtime? I don't think so. Turnaround. When it comes to yes, they were short turnaround from Saturday to Monday. Now they have basically the rest of the week to get their legs ready and prepare for Kansas. I think much more of a break now that they don't play from Monday and they go all the way till Saturday.
Yeah, I mean they'll be off, no practice kind of thing, but they may go in and do some shooting and things like that. So Tuesday, maybe some light work on Wednesday. But yeah, they'll be fine. Yeah, the game is Saturday, not Wednesday. So yeah.
Let's
all
see.
these comments. This is great, man. I'm enjoying this.
Absolutely,
this is fun.
Yeah. I'm reading out. Corey Miller says the only complaint he has about the refs tonight was how in the world was that a shooting foul against Asmus when Shed fouled out. That's a great point.
It was a foul, but it wasn't a shooting foul.
Yeah, it was a foul.
He fouled him before he went in the motion of shooting, so they definitely missed it on that aspect. But it was a good call. But like it wasn't a shooting foul. He wasn't shooting a 3 because they fouled him clearly. But they couldn't, when they review it, I'm sure they saw it. They just couldn't reverse the call because they had already called a shooting foul.
But yeah, this is
Kendrick Aldridge. Sorry, Chris, I mean to cut you off, but he asked, was the game closer than expected? Did you predict overtime? It's a road game in the Big 12, I think. And like we mentioned, all four
didn't predict overtime, but the last line I saw was Cougs -4.5.
But honestly, after that first half, I was expecting Houston to win by at least 6 or 8 points, close to 10 points. The way they looked, the way they dominated, the way I expected Texas to go on a run, but I didn't foresee Texas going on the run that they did, taking the lead, going into overtime. Just the way that Houston was playing in that first half, I didn't see it. I didn't see that. I thought Houston, I thought they were going to win, kind of control the game throughout the entire second half, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, they missed some shots. I mean, the Horns for part of the
Got
second half, they were like
to give them credit.
12 for 15 from the floor. I mean,
Yeah,
and all 12 baskets were on assists. So they had it rolling
yeah, they
in the
played
second
well.
half.
They were shooting 65% from the field at
Yeah,
that one point.
and
They
Deion
caught
touched on
fire,
it. Longhorns are up
taking extra
6,
passes.
54-48. Then Jamal hit a catch and shoot three. Then another catch and shoot three. Then Emmanuel hit a three. And just like that, 9-0 run in like 90 seconds, Cougs up 3. I mean, they were in a funk offensively. Jamal said, hit those 2 clutch threes. He's just in a mindset right now, guys, we're not going to lose. Hop on my back. I'm going to make some shots. I'm going to do what it takes. And we're going to win this game some way, somehow. And that's what they did.
Chris, have you noticed how with this year's team? Well, I guess in your opinion, do you feel he's the best option to be the number one option in regards to scoring?
I think Coach trusts him more because this is LJ's first year. LJ probably still is a better shooter. He's just in a slump, But in terms of catch and shoot threes and things like that, yeah. Because I mean, look at how many shots did he take? 25, something like that. 24. That's a lot for your point guard. But Coach Sampson wants him to be aggressive, so he trusts him to take good shots. He's probably not happy with that 3 that he took at the end of regulation because there was a pull up and he probably wanted him to beat his man off the dribble. But things like that, hey, Cougs still won the game.
I think it was interesting. It was an overtime when they kind of went to LJ Cryer more as not only to bring the ball up the court, but kind of run the offense. And I was just curious, maybe if it was just a stretch. I see Texas put their best defender on Jamal Shead and give credit to that young man because he made Jamal Shead have to work. Even on that last play when Jamal Shead had to run all the way into the backcourt to get the ball, he exerted so much energy just to get the ball in his hands. But I don't, curious to hear your guys' thoughts. I don't know if it's just something in this case down the stretch, trying to get Jamal Shead away from the ball, maybe create something away from Jamal Shead late down the stretch. But I did notice that in overtime where it was LJ Cryer to try to create, and in overtime both teams kind of struggled to be able to create some offense, and Houston was able to just score more points, get more free throws late down the stretch. But what did you guys think about that brief stint when LJ Cryer was kind of asked to run the show?
I think it was a smart coaching decision. The way that they were guarding Jamal, face guarding Jamal, and like you said, that he was having to exert so much energy just to get it. I think it was smart because you needed LJ to get going, and he wasn't making a shot. But let's put the ball in his hands, put him in pick and roll action, and also look at the defender that he had. He had Max Asmus on him. That's the player we want to defend. You trust him in those moments. He's such a great free throw shooter as well. Now you tell him, be aggressive. Don't worry about your shot. Now I could put the ball in your hands and not have to worry about you just catching and shooting because maybe you're not having it shooting wise. But I think it was great because, like I said a second ago, now he can play more comfortable with the ball, create contact, and get to the free throw line, like Chris is saying. And like I said a second ago, that's something that he needs to do more of. And I think it was good because of that he can do it. He's comfortable. He never seems rattled.
Right.
I think that's one thing to mention as well. His composure. He's well composed. When they were denying him, he would go get it. Looked like he wanted it. And so I think that's just smart on Coach Sampson, getting him the ball, letting Jamal take a couple possessions off in regards to not having to exert. Like he shot 24 shots. I mean, somebody got to step up. Somebody get the ball and make a play. And so I think that's probably pretty much what it was, and I liked it.
Rusty Reed also brings up, and Emmanuel Sharp brought up the ball a couple times down the stretch as well. And yeah, absolutely played terrific defense. Entire Houston Cougars defense, entire Houston Cougars team played great defense down the stretch. But yeah, it was a little bit of a three-headed monster, especially like down the stretch to try to get some other ball handlers to bring the ball up the court.
How big was Jaywan tonight? I mean, we haven't really touched about Jaywan, but he was big tonight. He's probably the player the most is gonna really, really take advantage of this rest between today and Saturday. But he was big tonight. Big rebounds, some big key moments finishing around the rim. He got a good and one that was much needed. How about Jaywan tonight?
Agreed. I
Yeah,
mean, his usual left hand jump hook bounced out a few times, but he
yeah,
still came through down the stretch. Different
was effective.
times of the game, different guys came through. I want to comment on who was it, La Flame? What I saw with Damian Dunn,
You
everybody come
comment about
alive.
Damian Dunn?
Yeah. All right. He just had 2 good games before this.
3. He had 3 in a
Or
row.
back to back
So and and
as a
folks,
comment.
John, right here, talking to JoJo was
Yeah.
struggling most of Big 12 play until tonight, really.
See, some of these comments, Chris, we could tell that they're not they
Big
not
Jack
as tapped
disagrees.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JoJo's a better weapon off the bench this year. And I mean, who are you going to start him over? You're not going to start him over Xavier Francis or Jawan
He never
Roberts.
did.
No, yeah, neither one of them. And JoJo still gets in foul trouble. Last few games, he's got in foul trouble. Tonight it was Jay got in foul trouble. It's just different times, different games. He's played like a freshman. Tonight, he stepped up with some key plays. Don't rush the process. As Coach Sampson has said in press conferences, Xavier Francis is a starting 5 on a top 5 team in the country for a reason. Okay, for a reason. JoJo's time will come. Hell, time might come next year, but not this year.
JoJo was big, man. He had 4 offensive rebounds, 1 defensive
And
rebound, 4 offensive rebounds. That's big.
he had one hustle play. I can't remember if it was in overtime. I think it was still in regulation where
It
the
was
ball
a
was going out of
regulation.
bounds, and
Yeah, that's a regulation.
saved it, and skied it by Houston an extra possession. Those hustle plays, something where he came through. And Dan, to go back to your point about Jawan Robertson, too. Houston did a good job being able to have tips in this game. The bigs did in
Yep.
particular, where maybe
Mhm.
necessarily they were getting boxed out, but it still disrupted play, and basically were able to buy Houston an extra offensive possession just by tipping the ball. And when you look at these numbers top to bottom, Jamal Shed, 8 rebounds. Xavier Francis, 8 rebounds. Jawan Roberts, 8 rebounds. Emmanuel Sharp, 8 rebounds. JoJo Tugler, 5 rebounds. A team, Chris, like you mentioned earlier in the show, definitely a culture win. And look at the rebound numbers. You can't see it more in the stat sheet.
Everybody that played tonight got a rebound.
Yep.
I mean, they put this game as the definition, the epitome of Houston Cougars basketball that Calvin Sampson imagines.
And Malik Wilson had a double dribble, and that was it for Coach Sampson. He took Malik off the ball seconds after that. I was like, well, Malik, you had your chance, man. We think Malik should get more time. Coach he just does not trust. He trusts Jamal way more than he trusts Malik. I'll just put it like that.
Rightfully so. Jamal's been in the program for so long, and Jamal's looking like the Big 12 Player of the Year, man. He keep playing like this, he will be an All-American. And
Yep.
we had conversations a few episodes about his status in regards to NBA. And like I said, I think he's getting ready to go on a run that can propel him to being an NBA draft pick.
And who was the player you said he could be like in the tournament?
I think he can have a Kemba Walker like run.
You hear that, Andy?
Kemba Walker, we shall see. Exciting times.
Yep.
Obviously, the biggest exciting thing is what's coming up in the weekend. But real quickly, before we get into that weekend matchup, of course, we'd like to thank each and every single one of you guys. We couldn't ask for a better YouTube comment section. Comments still keep coming. We'll get to that comment from Burt Reynolds on the other side. But we have a good amount of viewers here from, whether you're coming from the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, or you're coming from our Pod Time and Jamma YouTube channel, the Pod Time and Jamma X account. Thank you. Can never say thank you enough for taking the time out of your Monday night. It's 11 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone. So thank you for joining us to discuss following Houston 76-72 overtime win over the Texas Longhorns. And of course, we'd like to say thank you to the Steve Saxenian and the Saxenian family for being the primary sponsor of Let's Rage Coogs. Not only this episode, but for each and every single one throughout the entire men's basketball regular season. Let's Rage Coogs, the original Houston Cougars men's basketball and football post-game show. Of course, we also like to say thank you to today's secondary sponsor, In Star Pizza, with multiple locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. Be sure to stop by any of their locations every Tuesday during lunchtime for an all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. Star Pizza, as always, has free delivery since 1976. After eating a pizza on Saturday, I might need to stop by one of these Saturdays or one of these Tuesdays in the summer to try out, see what kind of other pizzas they have there. It's an all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. Might take them up on that offer because Supreme and the pepperoni pizzas are good, and I still can't get over the crust. And it fills you up. I was
Yeah. I
sometimes
mean,
you
the
eat
slices
food
were
and a
huge, man.
couple
Yeah.
yeah, a couple hours later you're hungry again. No, it keeps you full. So
Yeah.
great reviews. Chris, the comment you brought up, Burt Reynolds, he says Houston needs a backup point guard, so Malik Wilson needs more game time. Thoughts?
I mean, Malik needs more minutes. Malik, in my opinion, for what it's worth, coach doesn't care about my opinion. If Malik makes a mistake, let him play through it. Okay, just give him 5 minutes here, a couple minutes in second half, just that. But I mean, as soon as Malik got the double dribble, I knew he was done. I knew the ball was not going to be in his hands anymore, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I
But
think
hey,
I agree with you. I think that was more on the time and circumstances of the game in regards to him coming out immediately. But I agree. Like we said it before, he needs more minutes, and I think it just comes with the game, depending on the game. I think because we saw, was that last game or the game before, he played extended minutes. So just depending on the matchup, and I think Coach Sampson likes him more with Jamal, so he can still have the ball in Jamal's hands, and at times still allow Malik to push the ball and have Jamal off the ball and not have to exert so much energy running the offense. But I think just going down the stretch, kind of preparing for March. I mean, some of these games, especially at home, if you can get a big lead, I mean, you got to get some way to get Jamal some rest and get the Malik more minutes.
now,
Question for
you know,
you guys.
go ahead.
I'm gonna go into um, Apollo Luxius comment. Samson's a tough-minded enforcer, player accountability, and Burt Reynolds kind of going along those comments. He says he agrees. He talking about Malik Wilson was done after that. He should have passed it, but got nervous and held the ball. What do
He
you guys
did.
think about or the balance when it comes to yes, holding players accountable, but sometimes let them play through mistakes. And in the past, Kelvin Sampson has said it's a two-way street. Oh, the coach, you got to be able to earn the trust that the coach
Right.
has in you. And it appears that at this point, Malik Wilson isn't at that point when it comes with Coach Sampson. The trust Coach Sampson doesn't have that trust in him to be able to play through extended mistakes, especially in a close game like this on the road and in a Big 12 matchup.
I think he does not trust Malik with the ball in his hands. So we might see Malik on the floor with and have Damian Dunn bring it up sometimes, or Emmanuel Sharp, or LJ to give Jamal a couple of minutes of rest and have Malik off the ball because Malik can defend and rebound and score in traffic. So we might see a different rotation in terms of that tertiary ball handler. If it's not Jamal and it's not LJ, maybe it'll be more of Emmanuel Sharp with Malik on the floor together.
Yeah, I think it's earned. Coach Sampson mentioned how he was being more consistent at practice, and he earned more minutes in the game that we referenced, where he played more extended minutes. I think it's about circumstance and about matchups. I think um, I think it's just about circumstance and matchups. I mean, he definitely needs more minutes. But Coach Samp, I don't know, he's been doing a great job, in my opinion, managing his minutes. He knows his players and their capabilities more than I do, and so he must have a turnover problem in practice.
And
So,
see, and there you go. I think someone commented on it as well. All of us feel this way, and I'm not going to say him, but we trust Coach Sampson to do the right thing. He knows what he sees in practice, all those things. We trust him to do the right thing, as opposed to someone who's no longer in charge on campus. We had no trust in him to make the right decisions when it came to winning time and making the right plays. Y'all know who I'm referring to. Okay, it's a different sport, but that man, y'all know who it is. We trust Kelvin Sampson to do the right thing and put his players in position to win games. Let's go with that.
Looking at some comments from those that went to Austin, a comment courtesy of GoCoogs.com. Jamal Shed talked about going back to the Austin area. The quote, Houston's home for me. So he's 100% embraced the Houston culture, the Houston atmosphere. That was a comment that was mentioned in our show, but Marcus Sasser, obviously the great Marcus Sasser when it comes to recent players in the Houston Cougars program, tweeted out about it. He said, yes, sir, good dub, and shouted out Jamal Shed as well. And just all around, a lot of excitement around this game, Chris. Like you said, anytime that Houston can beat that school from Austin in any sport, it's a great night or a great day. But looking at some other comments, it keeps getting brought up, so might as well get into it. Saturday, it's going to be the matchup of, well, they're going to play twice, so maybe not hype it up too much, but everyone's excited. It's going to be at Allen Fieldhouse. A lot of excitement in the air to see how Houston matches up with Kansas. Ever since it was announced that Houston was going to be joining the Big 12 Conference, that was the matchup in men's basketball that got circled. What's it going to be like when Houston and Kansas meet? These are going to be two programs that are going to be playing a lot for the foreseeable future in the years. Just think about next year when these two teams are going to be playing non-conference. So this could potentially be the start of a rivalry. What do you guys are expecting? Dan, you will be at Allen Fieldhouse. What are you looking forward to the most between that matchup of Houston and Kansas?
Just the way Houston battles adversity in the game, you know it's going to be basketball is a game of runs. I think I want to see Houston get out to a fast start, but just the guard matchup, Jamal Shed is going to be clearly the best guard on the floor. Harris is a good guard, but he's no Jamal Shed. I mean, he's
Agreed.
really good in regards to the system and how he is for Kansas. But I've watched enough games of him this season. I've seen him. I watched their play at least 4 or 5 games this year. Their guards cannot hang with Houston guards. And I think if Emmanuel or an LJ is knocking down their shots, it's going to be a long day. And then in regards to Hunter Dickerson, I think how Houston plays the post, how they defend him, how he's a really good, effective passer. And Coach Self is going to do a good job knowing a double team is coming and having his team ready to prepare to handle that double team. And so it's going to be 2 Hall of Fame coaches. I know they're going to be ready, and I'm going to be watching the different adjustments that's made throughout the game. I'm ready for the atmosphere. But I think Jamal Shed is clearly going to be the best player on the floor. I expect another big game from him.
And Kansas, one of their issues right now is they don't have a bench. They don't have depth, and it's really up to the Cougs to kind of get to Kansas' lack of depth. If they're able to do that, if you see Damian Dunn get double figures, and it's an advantage. If the Cougs bench gets total of 20 points, I really doubt, unless they bring Furphy off the bench, that KU can keep up with that. Hunter Dickinson's going to get his. It's a question of, and KU's defense has kind of taken a step back in conference play. So we'll see if that continues. They play Oklahoma State Tuesday night. That should not be much of a challenge for KU, but KU's defense is struggling. And guard play, perimeter defense, that's a Coug strength, and it's not really a KU strength. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. Dayon's going to be there. I think a few other folks are going to be there. First time as a Big 12 matchup in Allen Fieldhouse. Life in the Big 12, man. This is just great. I'm so glad to be part of this stuff, man. This is awesome.
This is the first time. This is the first time in a long time that I can remember that Kansas doesn't have a lead guard that you know is an NBA player. Right now, their lead guard is McCollum, transferred from Texas Tech. I watched him. He's not an NBA guard. It's not to say that he can't play in the NBA, but he's not one of those players that sticks out like he's going to get drafted.
Yep.
6'6", he doesn't do anything great. He's not a great shooter. He can make the shot. One thing how he gets his points, the average is probably around 20 points. It's because he with size and does a great job of getting to the free throw line. but he doesn't scare me. I think Houston. We've seen him a couple years ago. Houston played Texas Tech. He was on that team when they had McCollum in Fort Worth. I think we're going to beat Kansas. That's my expectation. But at home on the road for Houston, it's going to be tough. And so, how they battle those runs, and if they can come out and not fall behind and play catch up, I think they'll have a good chance.
Michael Jones says he'll be there in Kansas. Chris, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what you guys mentioned in terms of lack of depth, the issues when it comes to Kansas, that's the last thing you want to do when you're playing a Houston Cougars team that's going to be physical, and they're not going to go away. Like, look at Texas in this game. For all the energy we talked about that Jamal Shead had to exert to be able to run the offense today against Texas, the Longhorns had to do that the entire night going up against Houston's defense. That's something that could potentially play a factor. And like you guys alluded to, if Houston's able to set the tone, get an early lead, weather the runs, and either be ahead or hang around in Kansas.
One key factor will be how the refs call the game.
Yes,
if the refs allow the physical play, because the first half tonight went by quickly because there weren't many fouls called. It kind of slowed down a little bit in the second half. But if the refs kind of hold their whistle and advantage Cougars, like I said, Hunter Dickinson might get 25 and 15, and the Cougs still win by 10, because it's going to be his teammates are going to be the supporting cast for KU. If they don't come through, the Cougs have a great chance to win Saturday on the road.
I'm curious to see how Dickinson does against Houston defense, specifically when it comes to getting trapped in the post. Interesting to see how he does. I think we can agree.
Well, I'm kind of curious to see
one of the best ball handlers or playmakers that Houston face from such a big man standpoint, because they've played talented bigs in the past. Just think about a couple of years ago in the NCAA tournament, Kofi Coburn and many others. Houston, for the most part, has been able to do a good job. Dickinson, I think we can all agree, in a class of his own.
Yes.
No disrespect to those guys, but
I'm curious to see if he'll do more face-ups and not be in the post as much, because posting up, the monster trap will come and it'll negate some of what he does. He has a good face-up game as well, so he might get more opportunities facing up, and shooting from mid-range would be a way to kind of negate Houston's monster defense.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm going to be watching Coach Self and him having his team prepared and having Hunter Dickinson prepared for that trap. I think he'll use KJ Adams in different ways, whether it be to slash when J1 or whoever's coming for the double, he'll have that player slash, most likely be KJ Adams, because it'll be the other big coming to post. And he's exceptional at doing that. You could just throw it up and he'll go get it, whether it be in the dunker spot or having him do a high-low, catch it from like the free throw line for the trap. You know that from where the double team is coming, then you can pass it and have him and like on a 2-on-3. So I expect Coach Self to have his team prepared in regards to dealing with the trap. I think sometimes it will be perfective, but sometimes they'll make some plays. And like Chris saying, he's going to get his in different ways, and he has an all-around game. Whether it be the face-up, he can step out and catch and shoot and knock some threes. And so he's a well-rounded offensive player for sure.
And Furphy, I'm kind of curious to see who Coach Self will put Furphy on, because whoever he's guarding, the Cougs need to go at him as often as possible.
Yeah, truly. I think he may put him on Emmanuel.
And that is probably smart, but then it's on Emmanuel to beat him off the dribble and get fouled, make free throws.
Which he's shown he can do.
Yes.
Which he's shown he can do. So, down to your point, like you mentioned, I think the guard position is definitely where Houston has a big advantage over Kansas. I'm looking at a lot of comments. Yet TI7791 agrees. He says he thinks Furphy will be a definite X factor for Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned it when it came to the defensive aspect, but
and he can finish around the rim too. He got good size. He's a good player offensively.
Yeah, he's offensively. He's young, so naturally, defense is not going to be the greatest for a young player, a first-year player. So I think that is where Cougs can attack him and beat him off the dribble.
TI7791 also had a funny comment. He says, daily reminder that you must bring Advil during every game during Big 12 conference play, especially if it's on the road, with how close they have been. Russell Islam, Jamal is playing at a higher level. Love the entire Cougs team. This is an interesting comment from Michael Brown. He says he wasn't able to watch the game. He listened to it on XM radio. Didn't feel like Houston was able to trap Texas's guards at all. He asked if he's wrong.
They trapped them some,
A
but it
little
was
bit,
different.
not really.
Yeah, different guards handle the ball.
Yeah, not really. Yeah. No, he's right about that. They didn't really trap him that much. I think they did a great job of extending the ball. So I remember a couple plays for Max Xmas where they were tipped and trapped him, and he saw what's coming, and he extended out the dribble to bring in the defense, widen them out, then beat that. And so I think Houston kind of changed their pick and roll coverage a little bit and just showed and got back versus trapping to get the ball out of his hands.
And there were a few times tonight where the Cougs were not in sync defensively, and you saw them run into each other on screens. They didn't switch, or they were late on switches, and Texas got some easy buckets that way. Texas got some backdoor cuts. There are ways to attack Houston's defense, especially if Houston's not in sync defensively. But not everybody can do that, on a consistent basis. And then if you do it, Coach Sampson will make adjustments to take that stuff away from you.
I like this comment right here about KJ Adams. I agree. I don't think he knows how good he is. He's a supreme athlete and plays a lot like Jaywan in regards to he can get rebounds, can finish around the rim, left and right hand, an okay free throw shooter. But I think his ceiling is higher than Jaywan's, in my opinion. But he's still scratching the surface in regards to just what he can do. I want to see him against Houston defense, against J1, and how he plays against this tough defense. I think it'll be a good test for him.
Because athletically,
he's in a class of his own. He got NBA athleticism, no question. No question. He can. I think he'll be in the NBA off his athleticism and his ability to run the floor, rebound, and do tangible things.
But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how he handles the Houston's physicality and effort.
Yeah.
And, it's not for everybody. And I'm not saying he's that kind of player, but there are players, and there have been opponents, when they realize how tough and how physical and how relentless Houston is, some of those players, they kind of back away. Hey, man, this ain't for me tonight. I don't believe KJ is that kind of player, but I'm kind of curious to see how he does respond and sees if he gets a chance to let his athleticism shine with some backdoor cuts, with some putbacks, with some dunks, things like that, to get the crowd going at KU.
And I'm gonna also be watching how aggressive he is on the rebounds.
Yes.
Because if he ain't aggressive going after the rebounds, we know Houston is gonna go get it. Yep. And so, I can't wait for this. It's gonna be a good matchup, especially in the front court for Houston. I think I say, KU has the advantage there. I would give them the advantage in the front court, but I think Houston has the better guards.
And that's what makes it an intriguing matchup.
Saturday.
Yep.
One of the top matchups, not only obviously in the Big 12, but in all of college basketball, and what's going to be a stacked triple header for ESPN. Salivating at the games that they're going to have on the network on Saturday. But as we begin to wind things down here, once again, I'd like to thank each and every single one of you guys that took the time here on this Monday night. We have been strong. That's most viewers consistently we've had ever, I think, in the history of Let's Rage Coogs. Ever. I don't think we've ever had that amount of viewers. The comments were great on both YouTube. We had a few comments from X. This is Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family. Of course, we'd like to say thank you to Steve Saxenian for being the primary sponsor for not only this episode of Let's Rage Coogs, but for each and every single one. And also, thank you to Star Pizza for being the secondary sponsor to today's episodes. Multiple locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. Be sure to stop by any of the locations every Tuesday during lunchtime for an all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. Star Pizza, as always, has free delivery since 1976. Big Jack does point out Cougars out-rebounded Texas 47-36 in today's game. And TI7791 says the Cougs had 2 posters against the Longhorns in this matchup. I'll toss it over to you guys. Chris, I'll go to you first. Any final takeaways from the game? And I mean, this is your time to plug. Where can people find you as well?
I love the Big 12. I love the fact Houston is in the Big 12. And the game against Kansas will be the Cougs' third straight game on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
So Cougs get that national exposure. That's outstanding. Thank you, as always, to the fans and audience for your contributions to tonight's show. Much appreciation to Andy and Dayon for their insight as well. Follow me on social media at Houston Roundbar View on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, Spoutable, all those great platforms. And follow us on YouTube, Paul Samajama and Houston Roundbar View. Subscribe to both channels. Hit that like button for our shows and our content. And we might have some big news to share pertaining to this Saturday's game. So stay tuned. And as always, the Houston Roundbar View since 1994. Local name, global perspective.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chris. Make sure to stay tuned. Like Chris mentioned, kind of teasing that upcoming announcement. Be sure to follow Pod Simon Jamma on X.com. And then, obviously, of course, whether you're watching us on the Pod Simon Jamma, formerly known as Twitter account, hit the follow button. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you are watching us on the Houston Roundbar Review YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. My final takeaway is this comment from Ki7791. He says, "What a journey. It was not long ago that he was sitting at Hofheinz wondering how his team was going to survive. Live is interesting. Come Saturday, they are going to be having the national spotlight. They're one of the premier blue bloods in college basketball in the Kansas Jayhawks. And it's going to be a show. So can't wait for Saturday. Like Chris teased, be on the lookout for an announcement. With that, Dayon, I'll toss it over to you."
Appreciate all the support, everyone who tuned in, commented, took the time out of their Monday night after this big win. Appreciate you guys. Of course, as always, pleasure to be alongside Andy and Chris. Looking forward to the matchup against Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse. I will be there. Houston will prove that they are one of the perennial programs in the country. And like Chris said, and I didn't even think about it, this would be Houston's third consecutive game on ESPN, not ESPN 45, ESPN, and all those other ones. ESPN. I love it, man. Big win tonight, as always. Go Cougs.